For Excel 2.4, we're going to talk about some common functions. We talked about basics, which were just kind of addition and subtraction. Now we're going to get into actual functions that you can write. You always, again, want to start with the equal sign. And the easiest way that I think there is to go just to the FX button. When you click that, it's going to ask you what kind of function do you want to put in. So if you want to add things up, you can type add, and you'll notice it says sum down here. And that tells you that when you sum some number plus another number, where'd my sum go? There we go. If you add a number and another number, it's going to add up all the numbers in a range of cells. That may be pretty easy. You can do anything like sum, you can do an average, and if you ever are curious, again, just type what you think you're looking for, and it'll find everything that has anything to do with your search. So sure enough, there's an average function where you put in a list of numbers separated by commas, and it returns the average or the mean of the arguments. So it tells you everything that you need to know, or you can get more help on the functions. Let's say we want to do an average. So we're going to say okay. You'll notice that it automatically puts some information in here, and it'll ask you which numbers do you want to average. This averaged everything on top of the formula, but maybe we don't want that. Let's highlight and backspace or delete that. We can click our button here, which takes us to our spreadsheet, and from there we can scroll around to whichever numbers we want to pick. Let's just pick these two. You can get back over here, and it's going to tell you which numbers you put in. It's also going to give you the answer. So if you're going to have an error, it'll display over here. And it's going to tell you, again, everything. I call this the cheater box because it tells you everything you want to know about that. Let's say we want to find the minimum or maximum numbers in this entire group. So we can say either equals, or you can just hit FX. It'll put the equals in for you. Let's say minimum. There's the MIN function, returns the smallest number in a set. So we'll say okay. We get our cheater box. And we don't necessarily want just B9. We want this entire range of numbers. And when you look at what that gives you, it says, I found all of these numbers, and this is the minimum one I found. You can say okay, and it'll put your minimum value. So there's all kinds of functions like sum, average, minimum, maximum. Another way to put those in would be to actually go to the formula tab. You can see anything that you recently used. There's a whole list of financial functions, logical functions, text functions, time and date, lookup and reference, math and trig, and more. So this is just another place you can go to get functions. I think it's an extra click though, whenever you can just go to the formula bar and search. That's usually my shortcut. A couple of pretty neat functions that you may have to use at some point in time might have to do with count. There's a number of different counts. Plain count will let you just count the number of cells that contain numbers. So if you want to put in a bunch of information and maybe some don't have any, like maybe zeros, or some just don't have anything and some have actual numbers, and you want to see how many out of this huge list has something in it, you can do count. There's also count A. Count A is going to count the number of cells in a range that have data of any type. It could be text or numbers. There's a count if. You can say count if a certain criteria is met, like maybe you're doing t-shirts for the Steel Bridge team, and you have smalls and mediums and larges, and you have a big list, and you want to go through the list and say count if the information says small. That would be a quick, easy way to get a total of the number of shirts you need for each size. So there's a number. If you look on page E2-95 of your textbook, there's a number of different types of counting you can do. So the count functions are good. The minimum and maximum, we talked about those. Those are also really good. There's a couple of more functions that are pretty neat. One is called today. If you say equals today and then open close parentheses, it will put today's date in there. If you say equals now, open close parentheses, it will actually put today's date and today's time. And you can display this all the way down to the second if you want to. You'll notice that if I copy this It should actually update it if that's set to update. If we showed seconds, it would definitely update. Or if I talk for another minute, it'll update. So those are some pretty neat little bits of information. If you want to make a standard homework page and you always want the current date at the top, if you save it and close it and then you open it back, it should always update to whatever today is, whatever day it is, or whatever time it is, depending on which function you use.